Hi my friends, and welcome back to the channel. I am filming for you in the apartment we're staying in Porto, Portugal. I hope it is not too echoey because the ceilings here are high, but this video is not about Porto. That is next week. This video is all about the Azores. If you are planning a trip to Portugal, especially to the stunning islands of the Azores, this video is your travel must watch. Today, I am sharing the 7 best things to do on São Miguel, which is an island in the Azores, from must-know travel info, tips, and non-skill victories if you are a post-op weight loss surgery girly like me. From thermal pools to black sand beaches, this is your São Miguel Azores Island must-watch travel guide. Don't forget to hit subscribe for more travel videos coming up. We have at least one more on Porto, which is where I am right now. And I will probably do like a recap video of my non-skill victories and what I've learned traveling abroad post-op. This was our first ever trip to the Azores. If you're new here, hi, I'm Chelsea. I am married to my college sweetheart, Mark, and we have a 9-year-old daughter, Callie. I am also 100% Portuguese. My family comes from the islands of Terra and Sao Miguel in the Azores. So we wanted to do this trip particularly with my parents. And if you are an oldie but a goldie, you know that I am a deep researcher. I love to research, and researching for a trip is one of my very favorite ways to spend my time. So Mark and I both researched what was good on São Miguel, what was family friendly, what was friendly for my parents, and in true fashion, built out an itinerary day by day, as well as a spreadsheet of outfits to match. If you are looking for that packing video, how I built the spreadsheet, what I brought with me, and how I packed for 2 very different trips, both in Portugal, I will link that video here for you. Let's jump into our absolute must-dos for São Miguel in the Azores. Number 1 is to visit a thermal pool. There are so many options on São Miguel to do this. We visited 3 in our week there, and I'm gonna break down where we went, my hot tips for each, and which ones were our favorites. The first we visited was Terra Nostra Gardens, and in my opinion, I think this is a must for multiple reasons. I'm sorry about the ambient noise. I just turned the air conditioner down, but there is construction going on right outside this apartment, and my husband is cooking breakfast. Terra Nostra Gardens is a 12.5 acre botanical garden with a massive thermal pool right in the center. This thermal pool is naturally heated with iron-rich waters, which gives it that orangey tinge when you look at it. It's not dirty. These minerals are incredible for your skin, but be warned, they will stain light-colored bathing suits, so plan accordingly. Entry cost 17 euros for adults and 14.50 for both senior citizens and children. This space is inexplicably beautiful. Once you find parking, note, there is not a parking lot. You need to find parking on the adjacent side streets and walk toward the gardens. There are these really beautiful big iron green gates that are open that have a TN on the front, so you'll know you're in the right place. You walk straight in, show your tickets to the ticket checkers at the front, and then the thermal pools are directly up the stair. There is a gorgeous white historical building in the background and a big fountain in the middle. But note, if you are an outfit planner like I am, you will want to bring bathing suits of darker colors because of the orangey tinge that it will leave on like a beige, a light pink, a white. I packed a bathing suit for Callie that I actually think she won't ever wear again because it's just a little bit too tight, so we actually left that in the Azores, and I packed a navy blue one for myself. This color, also to note, seeped into like the beds of our fingernails and left residue on our skin. But not to worry, that came out really easily. Right outside the thermal pools, there are showers where you would rinse off in your bathing suit, but they had both hot and cold water. So we were able to get the color out of my mom's bathing suit pretty quickly because she had a white-black mix, and right off our skin and out of our fingernails. Right down the set of stairs from the thermal pool, there are changing stalls, which we took advantage of. There are toilets down there, and there are lockers for your things. We left our things out on a bench and had no problem whatsoever. The thermal pool water here is warm, not hot, and it's about waist deep, kind of evenly across the pool, though there are areas that are warmer than others. In our notes of our itinerary, we left one for ourselves that said, be sure to arrive early. But we learned that Terra Nostra Gardens doesn't even open until 10 a.m. most days. And when we got there was plenty of space, and we arrived probably closer to 11. It was not overcrowded. We weren't like shoulder to shoulder with people, and this seemed to be a favorite among all members of our group. We ate lunch on this day at the bar restaurant, which is close to the entrance. You actually have to leave the gardens, like go through the people who check your tickets and take a right, and there is a really beautiful covered seating but still outdoors bar restaurant. There's a more formal restaurant inside the Terra Nostra hotel, but that's a little bit farther of a walk, and we were hoping to gain re-entry back into Terra Nostra Gardens to explore the botanical side, which you can do until 4:30 p.m. Same ticket. We sat outside under this beautiful huge canopy and had such a relaxing and delicious meal. Callie here discovered her love of St. George and Azores cheeses on her first ever by herself cheese board. I split a cheeseburger with my mom, and what makes some of the meat so special on this island is that it comes from their cattle cows, so everything is super fresh and local. After lunch, we spent hours traversing through the different garden rooms, feeding the fish in the pond, and in general just exploring the ground. So for 17 euros, it feels like we had a full day experience at Terra Nostra Gardens, which isn't the same at the other two thermal pools. There's also a local village, so again, if you want to leave and regain entry, you can do that with the same ticket before 4:30 p.m. most days. Our second thermal pool, and I'm going to apologize for all of my pronunciation right now, Ponta Delgada was in the village of Furnash. And this happened during our tour. We're gonna talk more about the tour later. This was very different from Terra Nostra. This had 3 to 4 smaller thermal pools kind of lined up in a row. Before traveling to the Azores, I was warned via my research about Terra Nostra Gardens and how it can change the color of your skin in your swimsuit because of the iron, but I assumed the other thermal pools wouldn't, so I wore my bright white, new blue hydrangea swimsuit and matching cover-up, which you saw if you watched the packing video. It turns out that in general, because of the warmth of the thermal pools, a lot of them have more iron in them than regular pools do, so they will all mostly change the color of your skin in your bathing suit. So that's one of my tips for you. It's not just the orangey tinge at Terra Nostra. I had a bit of discoloring at the top, like the V part of the top of my bathing suit, but I've washed it once. It came out a little bit. I think I can get it out more at home with like more aggressive bleach. And that is by no means the fault of any of these places. That is like a lack of information that I couldn't find before I came here. But I thought you should know, so that you can plan and dress as you want to, and know that if you do get it onto your clothing, you can get it out. It just might take more scrubbing. Now, Callie at this particular thermal pool was kind of like digging in the rocks area and had a bit more aggressive staining on her fingers, and over a day or so that did come out too. This space was lovely. There was a running river, a beautiful gift shop where most of the items were handmade. Oh, and there were both lockers, toilets, showers. You could pay €1 for 5 minutes of hot water. We didn't do that. And changing stalls. This middle one wasn't any of our favorites. So I think if you're going to pick a single thermal pool, this one's not it, but I just wanted you to know it's an option. The third thermal pool we visited is Caldeira Velha, and this is a much more rustic, wildly beautiful thermal pool. You're truly inside nature here. This third thermal pool is for my nature lovers. Now, this is the most popular thermal pool on the island, so you do need to make reservations in advance. We did ours 24 to 48 hours in advance, and we're still able to get the opening booking time slot, which is at 9 a.m. We were able to get into the pools faster since there wasn't a changeover of people, because you can only stay here due to its popularity for 90 minutes. We're gonna start with the notes. There are more notes on this particular hot spring than others. In order to get to the hot springs, you have to walk up some fairly intense steps. They are cut from nature, they're uneven, and they're fairly inclined. Caldeira Velha is a nature preserve, so essentially these thermal pools are in the jungle. They are in the forest. It is a longer walk, with most of the entry being uphill. So if you struggle with mobility, have an injury, are wheelchair bound, this might not be the one for you. Tip number 2 is you don't need a locker. You can rent a locker for I think €2, but you simply don't need one. There are benches outside each of the thermal pools. We never had a single safety issue or concern, and in general, most people left their things on the benches. Tip number 3 is that there are only 4 changing stalls here. Now you are in 90-minute rotations, but think this one through, which I didn't fully do when we arrived, which is why I'm telling you. So arrive in your bathing suit, yes, for sure. But then if you want to change after, know that there are going to be people coming in, changing into their swimsuits, and people who are leaving, changing out of them. So there was a line, Callie and I waited, we shared a stall. It was very dark inside, which was actually very peaceful. They are big enough for 2 people, but know that you may have to wait for a changing stall, and there's not really another place to change. We were headed onto another adventure after this, so I didn't want to do that in a wet bathing suit, but if you're going back to your hotel, resort, or Airbnb, you might not mind. Tip number 4, maybe this is the most important one. All the way at the back, what makes this thermal pool so special is the waterfall. However, the waterfall is not a hot spring. The water here is not thermal. It is cold. It might warm up throughout the course of the day, but since we were there first thing in the morning, it wasn't warm. It was tolerable, and honestly, it was so beautiful, it just didn't matter. Follow the signs to get to this one. It will keep telling you waterfall up, waterfall up. It's a farther walk than the other thermal pools for sure, but it's just, it feels magical. It's unreal that it's out there. The other tip here is that you may want some type of water shoe or like a sandal, because the rocky bottom isn't smooth surface like the thermal pools. I wanted to see the waterfall first because this kept coming up in my research, and the photos and videos of this just looked so stunning. So Cal and I walked all the way back to the waterfall, got in, dealt with the cold water. I'm doing this for the gram, right? I'm in there, I'm getting my photos. I wanted a really cute video of me swimming by, so I propped my phone up. And then my phone went for a quick swim, and on the last day of our trip, on the Azores side, my phone just simply stopped working. I picked it up in and out, 8 seconds. It's supposed to be water resistant for a certain amount of meters. It's not working out that way. It's not working out that way. When we go home, we'll have to sort that out. From the colder waters of the waterfall, we went to find warmer tranquility within the multiple thermal pools. There are 3 once you walk down past that waterfall. These thermal pools are almost like embedded into the jungle foresty area, so when you're in them, you do feel like you are absolutely in a part of nature, especially with all the sounds. It really is so beautiful. There are no ledges around these particular thermal pools, even though I think in all the videos and photos that I looked at, it looked like there were, because everybody crouches down in the water. And here you are, or at least we were, because there are time slotted reservations, shoulder to shoulder with other people. So something to note. We were literally in a thermal pool with people from all over the world. We heard French, we heard Czech, we heard Spanish, we heard Portuguese. Like, this was just a melting pot, literal like melting bodies inside this thermal pool, all just kind of enjoying each other's company. And it was really nice to like relax and listen and kind of people watch there. It was so beautiful. This one, I think, was some of our group members' favorites. I don't know, between this and Terra Nostra, I'm kind of tied. The overall consensus was that the Azores was absolutely not a beach vacation, even in July. It was more of a thermal pool vacation. Number 2 on the list is to see black sand beaches. This was a personal bucket list item. I live on Cape Cod, so I get to see, I'm lucky enough to see beaches all the time. I've seen white powder sand beaches. I've even seen pink sand beaches, but never black sand. While we didn't spend a day on the beach swimming or sunning because the weather simply did not warrant that, we did go visit a black sand beach. It feels different. It feels almost like soft black pepper, like it's so thin compared to the coarse grainy sand at home. And there's definitely something eerily beautiful about seeing this volcanic sand color next to these huge stone pillars and the crashing white waves. It just felt very like coastal rugged. Number 3's tip is a little more practical, perhaps more boring, but you need to rent a car on São Miguel. While there is Bolt and Uber, you will want to explore the areas outside your neighborhood. We tried to organize our itinerary by region to minimize driving back and forth, and that also allowed us to do some changing of our plans according to the weather. So if it was going to be sunnier on the west side of the island one day, we would do the west side things that day. So we tried to organize it that way. You do need to be more flexible because the island weather can be fickle. Be warned when renting a car. The roads are narrow. I call them skinny, and most of the cars are manual. In America, most of these roads would be considered one way because of how skinny they are. We were surprised. We've driven in some pretty hairy places, St. Thomas being top of the list because of the hills and the size of the roads, but holy moly, these roads are teeny tiny and the local drivers move on them very quickly. Mark drove us the entire time because honestly, I'm not that great at driving a standard, but also the anxiety of even just being a passenger, I don't know if I could have done it. And then he was able to like parallel park in the bigger villages and city areas in such tiny spaces. I don't know if I could have done that. So if you want to explore, and you do, you need to rent a car. Tip number 4 is to book a guided tour. We took an 8-hour Land Rover tour. I'm going to leave the company we used in the description box below. And our tour guide, Rui, phenomenal. There is a meeting point when you take a tour, but because there were 6 of us total, we were the entire tour. So he actually picked us up directly outside our Airbnb. And then he immediately impressed us by taking us onto the back roads of Sao Miguel, which kind of run parallel to the highway, but they're all the original roads. They're through nature. We stopped and drove through a river at some point, and he kind of pointed out things along the way to get us to our first viewpoints. But it was so fun being on like the Azorean real roads versus the highway. He took us to the native hidden spots, to historic churches in Villa de Campo, and to the Furnash Valley, where meals are cooked inside volcanic pits. Furnash Valley is a very special but stinky part of São Miguel, where the cooking technique hasn't ever changed, ever. Here, pots of mixed meats and vegetables are steamed for the entire day inside of pots in deep, cavernous, volcanic pits. And these are your traditional Furnash lunches and dinners. Something to know. The town stinks like sulfur, like boiled eggs, which my daughter weirdly liked. I wouldn't recommend staying in Furnash, but visiting was just fine. Because of the coloring, the yellow, gray, and white of the volcanic pits, it feels like you're on an alien planet. We actually, on this tour, ate lunch at a traditional Portuguese Furnash restaurant with the boiled, it's technically steamed. They would be mad if we called it boiled, but it's a steamed lunch of those mixed veggies and meats. I had a yam, some pork, some linguiça, and some chicken, and it was good. It wasn't my favorite meal of the trip because it does lack seasoning, but it was good. And my very picky mom said her favorite thing that she ate on the Azores was the steamed corn, which comes out of nylon bags from that sulfuric gas. Sounds awful, but she really loved it. We also visited on the tour the tea plantation, and because we were on the tour, we're able to hop into a tour right away. So we had a tour of the facility, how the tea is processed, and the different parts of the tea. They sell 3 primary kinds and then flavor them, but all 3 of those kinds of tea come from one tea leaf. So it's really eco-friendly, and the land is just gorgeous. We even got to try some of the tea, and I found some that I liked. I will do a separate haul on my Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube shorts, so make sure you are subscribed to see those and follow along. Throughout the day, we were able to see some incredible viewpoints, including Pico de Ferro. Rui was super thoughtful in asking us what we had already done during our time so as to not repeat places we'd been before. Personally, I found that this tour was the absolute best way to see more of the island that I never would have seen and to learn about its history. If you want to understand the soul and the people of São Miguel, book a guided tour. My only regret is that we did not do this earlier in the trip. Now, as a side note here too, as a part of the tour, you get to choose between the second thermal pool and Terra Nostra. We had already been to Terra Nostra because if you haven't, that's the one to book. But you will need entry tickets. Unlike everything else, including lunch, you pay for nothing extra. However, you do need to book your thermal pool tickets regardless of the thermal pool you go to. I didn't see any of that indicated on the website, but Rui told us when we got into the car. So we were able to like book along the way, but if you'd like to book time specifically or you have a preference over one of those 2 thermal pools, pick Terra Nostra. Then make sure you're doing that in advance. Tip number 5 is to go on the canyoning adventure in Ribeira dos Calderos. This was my Christmas gift from Mark, for Mark, Callie, and I to do this adventure, and this might be one of my most serious and biggest non-skill victories yet. Now, prior to arrival, I don't think I knew what the word canyoning meant. I thought it meant rappelling from canyons into water. And yes, that's a part of it, but it's absolutely not the only component. This adventure started with a hike in a wetsuit directly up a mountain. Like, there's no exaggeration here. When I say directly up a mountain, I mean that there's no trail. We were using tree roots, putting our feet on rocks to hoist our bodies up. This was a grueling 15-minute hike. And I know 15 minutes is like, Chels, you've given birth. You can do 15 minutes. We had to stop like every 3 to 5 minutes because of the altitude to catch our breaths. And our guides, Ricardo and Ugu, would give us like a briefing, basically to allow us to catch up with the breathing. My heart rate reached beats per minute of 161 during this 15 minutes. That's like the highest it's been since I've been tracking it after surgery. When we finally reached the top, and every muscle in my thighs, in my bum, in my legs, in my arms was burning. After we reached the top, we started with a zip line. This zip line was over a waterfall, and I was like, girl, you got this. You've zip lined in Jamaica, no problem. Easy peasy, the hardest part is over. Then we used rocks that were built into the water, like the white water, as a slide. So we water slid into a deep pool, and then we had to walk our way through this white water, and then we did a 7-meter jump into the water. That's fairly high. We jumped from rocks into the water. Again, I am feeling so brave. The surroundings are the actual jungle. The birds, the trees, the water, like we are in it here. We are in nature. This is a course in bravery, and there's no backing out. I will say that these surroundings were some of the absolute prettiest I've ever seen, and that includes Jamaica and Hawaii. Now we've reached the part of the tour where we rappel, and I was very excited for this because this is something I hadn't ever done before. You get a lot of instructions on how to do it. but ultimately it comes very naturally with your hands on the ropes and like releasing down, your feet pressing against the rocks. Callie went before me. She did fantastic. I think Mark was the most scared of the three of us, and then I went last. I really loved this part. The hardest part is the climbing up. Callie was so brave, and I'm so proud of her. The look on her face when she accomplished these tasks that were absolutely not meant for 9-year-olds. There's no real age minimum on this particular adventure, but perhaps there should be. Like, it felt like she was the youngest in our group, and Mark and I were helping her when necessary, but she didn't really need it because she loves this and she's very brave. So I was just so proud of her. But if you have more of kiddos who are like not really into it, there's not an option for them not to do it. We did see a boy a little bit older than Callie in the tour ahead of us being carried down the rappelling by the guide, so I guess that's an option, but I'm not sure that's the best use of your money. After the rappelling, we had 2 more jumps. One was smaller than the first, kind of just like a wee, and the last one was 50 feet high. 50 feet high. Now, I've jumped off the Jaws Bridge. That's like one of my best non-scale victories to date. I was talking myself into this. This was absolutely higher than the Jaws Bridge, and I was like, girl, this is your next non-scale victory. Be a good role model. Show, don't tell. Be the mom that she deserves. You can do this. Prove to yourself. I am hyping myself up. This is your biggest NSV of the Azores. You can do hard things. And I did. And so did Callie. This canyoning reminded me of how far I've come post-op. It's been we are a week away from my 6-year surgiversary. So it's been almost 6 years, and every trip we go on, we continue to challenge ourselves to do hard things. This has been the hardest one, hands down. It was physically grueling for me in a way that I was so proud of myself that I could do it. Now, if you're like, Chelsea, this isn't for everyone. Honestly, I said to Mark, I think if you are in less physical fit shape than I am, and I'm certainly not like Miss Muscles USA, okay? I think that this might not be the thing for you. However, you need to visit this area. It's stunning, and you don't have to do the canyoning. So if you're not in it for the physical gruelingness, the hike, or the 50-foot plunge, just go to this area because you can see the waterfall, you can see the gorgeous surroundings by pulling up in your car, taking photos with a little walk, not a hike, a little walk, okay? Number 6 is a grown-ups night out at the Gin Library. So tonight we are headed to, and when I say we, I mean just my cousin, Mark, and I, to the Gin Library. Now, I told you in the prep video that I was gonna wear this dress, and I will tell you, now that I've been here in the Azores for a few days, this dress is loud for America, and it is screaming here in the Azores, but I'm gonna wear it anyway. Let me show it to you. I'm not sure if I should be pulling like pieces of my hair back. It's been through it after an amazing adventure day, or if I'm just leaving them kind of natural and wild, which is my hunch. But yeah, that's our plan tonight. You cannot bring children. This is what I know. You can't bring kids 16 and under. It says literally on the website you have to, or they recommend that you reserve a ticket. So we bought a ticket for 6 p.m. They're only open until 7 or 7:30. So this is not like an all hours event, but your ticket is 15 euros and it includes a craft cocktail. So we're gonna go. I'm gonna get the chance to wear my gin dress. This is rented from Newly, if you didn't watch the prep video. I do love it. I just don't know how many opportunities I would have to wear it because it is very loud. The Gin Library, which is located in Ponta Delgada, one of the bigger towns on Sao Miguel, is home to an ecotourism hotel. It's the Solar Bronco Eco Estate, and it is quaint, charming, and global. It feels both modern and intimate while you're there. The gin room, it's a little shed essentially, has almost 3,000 bottles of gin in it that represent 77 different countries. This truly is a gin library. They only serve gin and tonics here. This isn't a winery beer at your leisure. This is just a gin library, and the cocktails feature different dried citrus and herbs to kind of make the gin that you choose pop. Even the glassware and the ice cubes were beautiful here. The gin library also features homemade gins. I don't mean like homemade in a bathtub gins. I mean the owner, who's British, has made 7 to 8 different bottles of gin. I tried the seaweed, which was the most mellow. It didn't have that like juniper Christmas tree flavor forward, which I actually really love. This was much more mellow. I actually bought a bottle. Now the bottles themselves are artwork. They are bespoke art that are handcrafted by a woman named Lemon, who works for the gin library, and the owner signed my bottle. And when you purchase a bottle, a percentage of your sales goes toward the Azorean Ocean Foundation. In addition to their homemade flavors, they have like experimental flavors as well that are not in these gorgeous bottles yet because they're not sure which ones are going to be most popular to adopt. The second gin and tonic I had, and the last of the night sadly, was a strawberry and basil gin that had this beautiful pink flavor from the infused strawberries. It was delicious. There was also a food truck there. It's really a food cart that was serving Azorean tacos of chicken and beef, as well as nachos, which you could get spicy or not. I told Mark that I would simply go back to São Miguel to stay at this ecotourism hotel and visit the gin library. One of the cool features that we did not take advantage of here is that you can bring a bottle of gin from home and swap it out for one of their bottles. So we didn't do this because I didn't want to bring gin through customs, but I kind of regret not doing so because I did spend 45 euros on their gin, which would have been free if I had brought my own bottle from like the Cape. And yeah, 45 euros sounds like a lot. It is for a good gin. However, this is the best gin I've ever had. And prior to surgery, I was quite a bit of a gin connoisseur. So I'm very excited to have this bottle. They also have them at the Azorean airport, at the Sao Miguel airport, Ponta Delgada. They have 4 of the homemade types, and you can buy them and then bring them on the plane there because you're buying them inside the airport. There are also gin library cats, apparently. They're strays, but not. We didn't get to see any of them, but they exist. They're all over their Instagram page. Hot tip, you need a reservation here. So when we went to look at the hours, by the way, they're only open until 7:30 p.m. max. So that's something to factor in. We noticed that it recommended reservations because it is such a small space. So it's 15 euros for your reservation. You can go up to 90 minutes there. Again, that seems to be a common thread here in the Azores. And that 15 euros actually covers the cost of your drink because all the drinks are 15 euros flat. So your ticket really gets you the drink, but it also reserves your time slot to make sure that you don't show up and they have to turn you away. And they do not accept patrons 16 or younger. They write 16 or babies on the signs. I think the best course of action is to build the gin library like into your afternoon. Now, if you stay there, I don't believe there are any limitations on how long you can stay, and you don't need reservations. Number 7. The last and maybe my personal favorite is to visit the Hydrangea Highway. This was on my personal must-do list, which you know if you follow me on Instagram. If you're visiting São Miguel in the summer, prepare to fall in love with the most romantic and beautiful highway that you have ever seen. This is one of the island's most enchanting sights. The vibrant blue and white hydrangea blooms line the highway. Also the hillside trails, the village greenery, it's all hydrangeas. This turns even the most simplest drive into something magical. Magical. I want every road on Cape Cod to do the same thing. The hydrangeas here are mostly blue because of the acid in the volcanic soil. So you can change the colors of your hydrangeas using some like pH balancing, but they're here just naturally mostly light to dark blue. So beautiful. It gives Sao Miguel, once you get outside the bigger towns, this whimsical fairy tale like charm. So we found ourselves pulling over, which is no small feat on its own, on this highway to take photos. Mark did some incredible drone footage, which you are seeing here. And I wore my particular Hill House hydrangea dress for the occasion. This is one of those like completely free, truly unforgettable, beautiful natural surprises that the Azores has to offer. And we ended up traveling this road many more times, which I was super grateful for because I was trying to soak it all in while we were doing it. But between the hydrangeas and then looking out to the vistas, you're so high up to see the water below you. Just gorgeous. It's unreal. Now I do have 2 honorable mentions that are not must-dos, but that are please do them if you have the time. The first are the viewpoints at Sete Cidades. The vistas here look like a postcard, but nothing is going to compare to standing front and center at the Miradouro de Boca do Inferno. These twin lakes, one is green, one is blue, and they kind of touch in the middle. They sit inside this volcanic caldera, and the views are jaw-dropping. If the weather's on your side and it's a clear day, this could be a must-see on your list. There's just not much more to do in that area. You can hike this. I believe there are other like picnicky style trails, but we went right to the top because we wanted to see it from that bird's eye view. And the car ride to get there is gorgeous. The second honorable mention is the islet of Villa Franco de Campo. We did this. It was a wonderful experience, an hour to hour and a half, but I don't know if I would make it a must-do, and I have a reason for that. This is located just off the southern coast, and it's essentially this tiny little islet, this circular island with these jutting rocks, and it was formed by submerged volcanoes, which I think is the coolest part. Like, the actual rock on the island is really interesting. Now, here's where it becomes a could versus must-do. There is a little natural swimming space in the middle. However, the swimming was not opened. Now every year water tests, water quality tests are done on this water, and we learned that for the past 5 years, this water, the natural swimming area, has not been safe enough for swimming due to fecal matter. This has something to do with how the island ran, like where they stopped running their sewage pipes. It doesn't go or extend beyond this islet. So the water looks crystal clear, but is full of poop bacteria. It doesn't smell. We just were told, don't touch it, don't swim in it, don't step in it. So you'll need to take a short boat ride out. Tickets in the summertime go fast. We took the 4 o'clock out, and the last boat back was at 5. So we were on this island for an hour. The boat ride took about 10 minutes. That was really cool because you're in a smaller boat but bigger ocean. But the views were absolutely worth it. And I think it was only 10 euros. And the boat ride back, we actually went through some of those volcanic rock formations, which was really neat. We also visited the only pineapple plantation in Europe because we had to compare it to the Dole plantation in Hawaii. Callie took this clip. Apologies for the shaky footage. There's a really cute pineapple stand that has snacks, drinks, some alcoholic beverages, and they have a gift shop where they sell locally made goods. The growing technique here is very different from Hawaii, so it was really cool to see. And one of the other places that we found was a sardine shop. This kind of shop is all over the cities of Portugal, so I was surprised to find this in the Azores. It's like an Instagram aesthetic sardine shop. So they have all of these different types of canned fish, octopus, etc. inside these really pretty tins. There's also a jewelry shop in the back, which is quite bougie, but if you find one, go in. They're fun. Takeaway is São Miguel in the Azores is beautiful. The thermal springs, the hidden jungle gems. It's absolutely worth a trip. The people are very salt of the earth, and there are so many things to do here. We could have stayed a full second week to accomplish all of them. So there's still more to do. If this video helped you plan your trip or you enjoyed seeing this beautiful drone footage, would you please subscribe, like this video, leave me a comment telling me what your favorite activity could be, would be, or what I missed. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss our next adventure in Portugal. Thank you for watching, and I hope you remember that you deserve a life that feels adventurous. I love you, and I will see you next week. Bom dia! Bom dia. This is my outfit of the day. It is arrival day here in the Azores, and I am hoping that I'm masking the fact that I got 2 hours of sleep, actually a little less. So I have my little two-piece set here from Lily Pulitzer. I have my Vineyard Vines bag, and I am hoping that we go to a pineapple plantation today and then have dinner at a beach bar. Like that's my overall goal. Also, this is our fabulous pool. This house is incredible.